What's your name, kid?
Max.
Max. Hey, Max. Fist bump. I am Dr. Dexter Blaine. But you can call me Dr. Blaine, okay?
They were never supposed to meet. 7 years ago, Blaine's mother tried to kill me and Max.
Run away and never return. My son will never know about this child of yours, you hear me?
That night, I died. Or at least, a part of me did. But that was only the beginning of a love story I never thought I'd live to tell. Because I wasn't the only one who survived. Thankfully, Max survived.
Hey, Mom.
But shortly after his birth, Max was diagnosed with leukemia. He'd been in and out of hospitals ever since.
Hey, sweetie. We brought you both dinner.
Oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks.
How's Max?
Yeah, he's good. Just sleeping. Needs to rest.
What's wrong?
He just keeps asking if he's ever gonna have a dad.
Why don't you just tell the real father to show up?
When he's cured, I'll have more time and...
Zoey could never forget that face. It was Blaine Dexter, the father of Max. And somehow, he was now working in the same hospital where her son was being treated.
Hey, I really appreciate you two for visiting. I'm just feeling so tired. Can we go?
Sure. Let's go.
Zoey couldn't believe that out of all the hospitals in the city, this is the one Blaine worked at. She knew she had to protect herself and Max. It was for Max's own good. But how long could she avoid Blaine before he finds her out?
Hello?
Zoey, I am emailing you right now a proposal for a new client. Big budget, big everything. Think you can handle it?
Me? Seriously?
Seriously. He wants to meet tonight at 6 p.m. at Waterford International's restaurant.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You guys.
Reservation under the name Fuller?
Neither could deny it. The chemistry between them was electric.
Talent Interiors, this is Zoe speaking.
Are you joining me for dinner or not?
You are my new client?
And you are my new interior designer.
I can call my boss and have him put somebody else on the project, given our history.
Why didn't you ever call, Zoe?
Excuse me?
Why did you leave? So suddenly, I had no idea where you went.
How could she tell him the truth? What his own mother had done to her. She had to protect herself and Max. She couldn't get wrapped up in the Dexters again.
I'm so sorry. Hello. Yes, of course. Have her prepped for surgery. I'll be right there.
Is everything okay?
It will be. I guess we'll have to continue this conversation farther at another time.
As Zoe watched Blaine leave, she wished she could have explained everything to him in that moment. But she couldn't put Max at risk. Besides, Patience needed his healing hands. She remembered when they healed her from her own terrible accident all those years ago.
Oh, I'm not...
I'm sorry. I can come back.
It's okay. I'm kind of struggling with these,
You mind if I help? What's your name?
Zoe?
Hi, Zoe. Dr. Dexter. You can call me Blaine.
Will you be my doctor?
Yeah. You don't like me?
No, it's not that. I don't want to take you away from other patients that might need you more than me.
Well, something tells me that you need mine.
Little did he know, this same man would get me pregnant only 10 months later.
I'm sorry. I was just playing and my ball got away. Are you a doctor?
I am.
You look strong. Like a superhero.
What's your name, kid?
I'm Max. What's your name?
I'm Dr. Blaine Dexter. You can call me Dr. Blaine.
Oh, you're the brain surgeon with a penthouse downtown. And your family's loaded. You live in Moore Park, don't you?
You a detective?
Oh, the nurses want to marry you. Are you single?
Actually, I have a fiance. What's wrong with having a fiance?
It's just, if you were single, I would have introduced you to my mom. My grandma always says she needs a good man to take care of her. And you look like a good man.
You her matchmaker?
She used to be married, but now they don't live together anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So if I fall asleep one day and never wake up again, she'd be all alone.
Well, then let's just hope that doesn't happen, okay? Who is your mom anyways?
Max? Max, I've been looking for you everywhere. Let's get you to your room, okay? Let's go.
What's wrong with the little guy?
Leukemia. His whole family's been tested, but we haven't found a match for a bone marrow transplant yet.
Bye, Dr. Blaine.
Blaine felt his heart ache at Ramona's answer. He knew how difficult it was to find that kind of donor.
Max! There you are. Where'd you go? You have to stay in your room, you little troublemaker.
Well, he struck up a friendship with a hot surgeon, Dr. Dexter.
Hey, Max, sweetie, go in. I'll be right there. Ramona, Dr. Dexter cannot know who Max is. He can't know his last name. He can't know that he's related to me, okay? Do you understand?
Zoe, what's going on?
Please, just promise me.
I promise you.
Okay. Thank you.
Zoe couldn't tell her that Blaine's mother attempted to take her life and Max's 7 years ago. But she had to keep Max safe, and keeping the truth from Blaine was the only way. But would she be able to keep them apart forever? Only time would tell.
Hi.
No need to sit. Just wanted to check up on where you're at with Blaine Dexter.
Okay. Dinner was great. He had to leave early on a hospital call, though, so now we're currently...
Moving forward, as they should be. Right, Zoe?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot mess this deal up. Understood?
Yes. I am on it, boss.
That's what I like to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Hi, it's me. Zoe. Zoe Fuller?
This was impossible. How could Zoe be expected to work for him, given their history?
Look, I know you may not want to work with me, but you're a very important client to us, and I would like to see this deal through, so I would appreciate if you could...
Why don't we meet at my place? Tonight. Let's say 6.
At your place?
Well, yeah, you need to see my furniture, don't you?
Right. Of course.
Is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
The spare key's under the mat, in case I'm not there yet. It's my fiance's, but you can use it. I'll send you the address.
Great. I will see you tonight.
Zoe had almost forgotten Blaine was engaged. She knew she had to be strong. She had to move past her fears.
You got this.
But she had no idea that her darkest fears just might come true.
Dr. Blaine Dexter, please. It's his mother. I need to speak to him immediately.
Of course, this is his house.
Suddenly, Zoe was dizzy. What was she doing? How could she meet with Blaine alone after what Blaine's mother had done to her? She cursed herself for forgetting to eat today. Her mother was right. She wasn't taking care of herself.
You again. I thought I got rid of you the first time.
Catherine, please leave me alone. I'm just trying to provide for my son.
You mean your illegitimate baby that you had with my son? Did you really think you could weasel your way back in? I will kill you. Make no mistake. If you try to get close to Blaine, I will end your life.
But suddenly, in her hallucination, Zoe thought of Max and the life she wanted to provide for him. Zoe decided right then and there she wasn't going to let the Dexter family dictate her life.
You can't scare me anymore. I'll show you who Zoe Fuller really is.
But what did Zoe just walk into? Will Blaine stay with his fiancée, despite his growing feelings? And when will Zoe run into her attempted murderer, Catherine Dexter, again?
Wow. So this is where Blaine lives. Be professional, Zoe. He's moved on.
Have you been waiting long?
Blaine, your house is amazing. Why do you need an interior designer?
For our new home. Me and my fiance.
This doesn't have to be weird. We're both adults, right? I know you've moved on. And I have too.
Is that why you were so jealous of sister being treated by me?
I wasn't jealous.
You know, she reminds me of a younger you. Impulsive. Flirty. Dangerous. Or is that still you?
Aren't you engaged, Blaine?
Good. Our second date.
I'm serious, Blaine. You need to stay professional.
I already told you, I'm engaged. And you are... single?
I'm married.
But Zoe was lying. She used to be married.
Oh.
But things changed.
Well, good for you. You can leave those. We're waiting on another person. Thank you.
Who are we waiting for?
Who do you think?
Blaney.
Sophia Quincy. Everyone knew Sophia Quincy, the heiress to the Quincy Corporation, an aerospace conglomerate. This was the kind of woman Catherine Dexter wanted Blaine to be with. It all made sense.
Sophia. Lovely to meet you, Chloe.
Actually, it's... Zoe.
Looks so good.
Oh. Sorry. Sorry. Look at us. Look at like kids. Let's talk interior design.
Yes.
Yes. I have some mock-ups together if you wanted to take a look.
Ooh.
Jeez. I love that color.
Zoe couldn't deny how nice Sophia was. Gorgeous, rich, and kind. How could Zoe possibly compete with that?
I'm so sorry. I actually have to go.
Can't it wait?
No, it's my son. He needs me.
Oh, you have a son? How darling. Blaney and I cannot wait to have kids. Right, sweetie?
Yeah.
Yes, I can grab
Sure.
these. Miss Quincy, I will be in touch with you. Dr. Dexter, good to see you.
Good to see you. Do you know her?
Hardly.
Little did Blaine know, he already had a child.
She dropped this. Zoe?
But Zoe could never let him find that out.
Oh my god. That's the heart of the sea necklace.
It was the priceless necklace Blaine had given Zoe years ago. He couldn't believe that she still had it after all this time. Could that mean she still held a torch for him? Like he did for her?
Why would a low-level interior designer have something this expensive?
She's not low level. I need to use the restroom.
But Sophia wasn't convinced.
It's me. Look, I need some information on someone. An interior designer by the name of Zoe Fuller.
Hey, what's going on? Where's Max?
He had an episode. They stabilized him. He's fine. You can visit him soon. But they want to run a lot more tests.
Tests? What kind of tests?
The expensive kind.
Money was tight, but Zoe knew she had a fallback option.
I'm sorry, Zoe. I know money's tight for you right now, and just... Zoe. Zoe, are you okay? Zoe.
The only hope Zoe had of paying for Max's treatment was gone.
Blaine?
So what's a married woman doing on my doorstep in the middle of the night?
Look, I'm just gonna cut to the chase, okay? Do you have my necklace?
Don't you mean my necklace? Since I'm the one who gave it to you.
Blaine, please. Not now. I need that necklace.
For what? For remembering the guy you left behind all those years ago? For no reason?
That's not...
You broke my heart, Zoe.
Blaine could never know the truth. That she was forced to leave. Forced for her own safety.
I can't do this. Forget it.
Wait.
What?
Turn around. Turn around.
Could he tell how badly she wanted him?
Don't lose it again.
More confused than ever, Zoe had what she needed to pay for Max's treatments. But given the history, could she really sell it?
I came as soon as I heard.
This is Matthew, the man she married, and the heart she had broken. All because she could never stop thinking about her first true love, Blaine Dexter.
Thank you. What am I supposed to do?
We will get through this. All right? Together.
Come to bed. It's been so long since we...
I can't. The hospital needs me.
It wasn't just the hospital that needed Blaine. Blaine might be Max's only hope. But could Zoe tell Blaine the truth?
They said the chemo would work, and it's not working.
Look, this can happen with chemo. Patients can build up a tolerance to it, then it loses efficacy. Zoe, I looked over Max's chart. He has chronic toxic hepatitis. Now, there are ways of treating this, but...
Let me guess, it's really expensive. The bills just keep racking up. I'm never gonna get out of it.
And in that moment, Zoe knew what she needed to do.
Matthew, I know we're not married anymore, but...
I can't give you any more money, Zoe. I'm sorry.
It's not that. It's just...
Could you watch Max tonight? I have something that I need to do.
Of course.
Thank you.
Tell me.
The patient is in triage.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That's the husband, huh? What does he have that I don't?
Long night, Dr. Dexter. You were incredible in surgery.
Thanks, Ramona. I'm headed home. I gotta get some sleep. Page me if anything comes in, okay?
Sorry. Oh, it's a good thing your coffee was cold.
You in a hurry to see your husband, Zoe?
Even though Zoe hated lying to Blaine, she couldn't risk him knowing that she was there for Max. He couldn't know about
Why
him.
else would I be here?
Good. Go on. I'll see you around. Wait. I'm sorry. It's really hard for me to see you as someone else. You need to change out of that shirt.
Probably.
Here's a shirt.
Thank you. All right, I'll turn around.
I've seen you naked before.
Yeah, well, that was a very different time, wasn't it?
She was driving him wild. How could he possibly stand this?
You haven't changed a bit.
It was really happening. They were about to give in to their desires after being apart for so long. Zoe couldn't believe it.
It's your wife. She wants to see me.
She's not my wife yet.
Blaine, we can't do this. This is too messy. I mean, you're engaged and...
And you're married.
Right.
Unless there's something that you're not telling me. Where's your necklace? Where's your necklace, Zoe? Zoe, where's your necklace?
I had to sell it.
You sold it? Why? Why would you sell it? Why?
I can't tell you.
So that's what I meant to you?
No.
I guess that settles where we stand.
Dr. Dexter.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, but we need you in surgery. We've got a complicated case.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Blaine, please let me explain to you. I just needed...
Whatever the reason, I hope you got what you needed.
Baby.
Sophia. Listen, I think we need...
What's wrong?
That necklace. Where did you get that necklace?
I bought it at a pawn shop.
A pawn shop?
Clearly, whoever sold it didn't care about it.
Take it off. Now.
Why? Tell me. I know it was hers, Blaine.
You know nothing.
I know she sold it. And that says a lot. If it helps, apparently she needed the money. Badly.
She did?
So forget about poor, pathetic interior designer and start thinking about the future. Your wedding. To me. Hospital needs you. Of course. Don't tell me. Just go.
Blaine knew that no matter how hard Sophia tried, she would compare to Zoe.
Zoe, just the gal I wanted to see. Look, since you are taking on big accounts now, I am sending you to Scottsdale for a couple days. Huge opportunity there with a new client. I need you to close the deal.
Talon, that is so great. But
But, Zoe, this is what you wanted, isn't it?
Yes. Of course. Thank you.
Okay. I like that.
Yes. Okay. Hi. I'm so sorry I'm late. I got held up at work.
At work? Huh. It's so funny. I called your office and they said that you weren't there, that you spend a lot of time at the hospital.
Yes. I have family there.
How convenient. So are we going to go over designs or not?
Of course. Of course. So I was thinking that we could draw some inspiration from...
Oh, my necklace. I found it at a pawn shop. It's so funny, the kinds of things that you can find in the most surprising places.
It definitely suits you.
I know, it does. Oh, and Zoe, I don't like people envying my things, so keep your eyes on your own jewelry. Understood.
Understood. Miss Quincy.
Did Sophia know what was happening between Zoe and Blaine? Did she know that Zoe sold the necklace to a pawn shop? Blaine couldn't get Zoe out of his head. What could she possibly have needed to sell the necklace for? What was so important?
You sneaking out?
Dr. Blaine!
Where you going, little man?
Can't tell Nurse Ramona.
Where are you going, little man?
I want to get my mommy a pet.
Pet? Okay. Does she like animals?
Not really, actually. It's just... I don't think I have much time left. And I wanted to have something, or at least someone, that could live longer than me.
Well, you know what, Max? You're gonna live a really long life. And your mom is so lucky to have a guy in her life like you that cares about her.
You still haven't met her. You'd really like her.
I'm sure that I would. You know what? I got a little time to kill, and I know a really cool pet store right around the corner. Wanna go check it out? Show your mom how thoughtful you are? Huh?
Yeah.
All right, follow me.
How is he?
Max will be receiving experimental treatment for the next few weeks. But my boss called and they need me in Scottsdale for work. Is there any chance that you could handle visiting Max for me just while I'm gone?
Of course, Zoe. We'll take care of him, of course.
Thank you.
Suddenly, the day caught up to Zoe. The encounter with Blaine, the confrontation with Sophia.
Okay. Need a little water? Why don't you come sit for a little?
No, I need to spend as much time with Max before I go.
Oh, to tell that haughty doctor I haven't forgotten about him. Unless you've gotten to him yet again.
Zoe knew she was being paranoid. How could Ziva possibly know what happened between her and Blaine?
What did you say?
What?
That's exactly how Zoe felt too. The ghost of her past.
You gotta introduce this little guy to your mom, huh? You excited?
Yeah.
Zoe, you look like you've seen a ghost.
No, I'm fine. It's just been
No. It hit Zoe. How natural Blaine was with Max. How compatible they were. Maybe life didn't need to be so lonely. It was time to tell Blaine the truth.
Blaine, this restaurant is lovely. You always know just what I'll like. Sophia praised him. Blaine just smiled faintly in reply. His gaze kept returning to the heart of the sea necklace around Sophia's neck. $4 million. Sell me the necklace. Sophia's face paled and her eyes turned red instantly. Blaine, who are you buying the heart of the sea for? Blaine's heavy eyes stared straight at Sophia. No matter who it is for, there's one thing for sure. It doesn't belong to you, nor should it be around your neck. Tears flickered in Sophia's eyes. It doesn't belong to me? Who does it belong to then? Does it belong to Zoe? Blaine looked at Sophia's tear-stained face, but found he couldn't muster any pity for her. Sophia, the necklace around your neck is my memory, my youth. Why else do you think I want to buy it? Sophia's face was white. I'm your fiancé, Blaine. So, I don't think it's appropriate for my fiancé to wear my ex-girlfriend's necklace. Blaine's eyes blazed with anger. Take it off, Sophia. The next day, Zoe received a call from Sophia. She asked Zoe to come to see her, as Sophia felt there were a few problems with Zoe's latest design. Wanting to please a client, Zoe immediately offered to meet Sophia. Zoe quickly took down the address Sophia gave her and left. Now, standing outside the location where Sophia had asked that they meet, Zoe was in a trance. Sophia had asked Zoe to meet her at Winchester's, the finest bridal shop in Phoenix. Finally, Zoe reluctantly opened the door and entered the elegant and expensive bridal store. Zoe couldn't believe this was happening. Zoe had now become an unwilling witness to Sophia's final wedding dress fitting. Zoe suddenly saw Blaine standing in front of her. When he saw Zoe standing at the door, Blaine's usually expressionless eyes flashed with some unspoken emotion as they glittered and darkened. Zoe! Sophia's voice came from behind her. Zoe felt even more depressed. Sophia, I think you're too busy today. I should be going. We can talk about your design concerns another time, Zoe told her. Zoe, don't be like this. Sophia then took Zoe's hand affectionately and smiled. I'm just so busy right now with all the last-minute wedding preparations. It's happening so soon that this was the only time I had to meet with you. And don't worry, we're almost done. My reception dress was the last one I needed to try on. Zoe took a deep breath and nodded in agreement. All right, I'll wait for you. Suddenly, Zoe dropped the magazine, stood up, and walked over to Blaine. She needed to put an end to this farce. Blaine watched Zoe's approach silently. Zoe nervously swiped her hands down the side of her jeans. Zoe paused for a moment, bit her lip, then continued. I don't want Sophia to misunderstand anything. In the future, Dr. Dexter, we cannot meet again in private. Blaine's dark eyes sparked at her words. Then he smirked and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you to control yourself and not provoke me again." What Blaine said sounded harsh to Zoe. She cleared her throat and said hoarsely, "Could I trouble you to mention to your fiancé that in the future it would be best if she asked to meet me at the job site or another neutral location? It's somewhat awkward as an outsider to be the witness to such a private moment." A dark glint appeared in Blaine's gloomy eyes as he stared deeply at Zoe. Suddenly, he averted his eyes and said, "You can leave. Please stay out of my world from now on and never dream of breaking in again and messing up my life." As he said this, Zoe could feel her own heart go cold. Dr. Warner had called a meeting of the hospital's surgical staff to discuss whether they should operate on a patient who was also HIV positive. It was very evident to Blaine that Dr. Warner wasn't in favor of this operation. David leaned over to whisper, "Blaine, what do you think about this?" Blaine raised his eyebrows and pursed his lips. "What about you?" "I think what Dr. Warner is saying sounds reasonable," David replied. "And you?" Blaine turned to Jose, who sat on the other side of him. Jose pointed at David. "I'm with David. I think what he's saying makes sense." Blaine kept his hands leisurely in the pockets of his white coat. He was calm and spoke with authority and immediately had everyone in the room's attention. "Our duty as doctors is to prolong life. Without brain surgery, this man's life will be over. Therefore, I'm in favor of conducting the operation, and I'll volunteer to do it myself." Ramona was still worrying about the operation when she happened to see Zoe in the hall the next day. Ramona called out to her, "Zoe, Dr. Dexter is putting himself in danger, and I fear that only you can stop him." On the day of the surgery, the whole neurology department was filled with a strange sense of nervous anticipation. Blaine had begun the surgery on the patient at 11 o'clock that morning. Now it had been 5 full hours, and the operation still hadn't ended. Scalpel. Blaine reached out his gloved hand, and the sharp scalpel was placed in his hand. "Damn it, his finger has been pierced!" Jose cursed as his face turned pale. Blaine tried his best to remain internally calm as he moved his hands away to protect Kelly and comforted everyone on the scene. Jose was so nervous that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Dr. Dexter, hurry up and go rest. Let me do it. Why are you still here?" "No, Dr. Ramirez." Blaine told him firmly in an attempt to calm him down. "My hand has already been pierced. I will finish suturing the patient. Step away from the operating table." "But," Jose faltered. He didn't know what to say. Blaine finished suturing the patient and the operation was finally over. The operation itself had been quite successful, and he thought the patient's prospects overall were very good. That weekend, Zoe was spending time with Max at the hospital. Zoe was stirring the sugar into her coffee when she heard Luna and the other nurses say Blaine's name. "Did you hear what happened to Dr. Dexter?" Luna asked. Hearing Luna's question, all the other nurses hurriedly gathered around the nurses' station counter. "It happened when he was performing surgery on an HIV-positive patient a few days ago. I heard that he had his hand pierced by a needle on the operating table and was told by the hospital director to stay home until he got his HIV test results back." Zoe could no longer hear what the nurses were saying. "Luna, I have something urgent to do and I need to go out. Will you let Max know when he wakes up that I'll be back as soon as I can?" "Of course, Zoe. Do what you need to do. I'll let him know," Luna promised. "Thank you," Zoe said as she rushed into the elevator. Now that Zoe was standing in the lobby of Blaine's building without even thinking, Zoe pressed the buzzer for Blaine's penthouse. After 10 minutes of buzzing, the phone in Zoe's pocket rang. She hurriedly answered her phone. "Blaine, is that you? Are you there?" she asked anxiously. "Zoe, for God's sake, stop pressing the buzzer. You're giving me a headache," Blaine told her wearily. Then immediately after he finished speaking, he hung up on her. Zoe ran outside and began to shout, "Blaine! Let me in! Blaine, open the door! Let me in!" Zoe yelled at the top of her lungs. Blaine's penthouse was on the 20th floor, but she didn't care. She figured if she yelled as loud as she could, he'd hear her. Blaine stood by the window and looked down at the stubborn figure standing below. Seeing the woman downstairs, Blaine realized that she must have been scolded by the other residents by now. That should have made her give up. However, this was Zoe. She would fight to the death to make something happen. She'd never give up so easily. As he watched her, suddenly a basin of water was thrown from above. Damn it, Blaine swore. He obviously hadn't expected that to happen. He didn't even think. He had to get to her. Blaine grabbed his jacket and rushed downstairs. When one of Blaine's neighbors dumped cold water on Zoe's head from above, she finally went silent. "Zoe, can you be any more stubborn?" At the sound of his familiar voice, Zoe felt a rush of relief go through her. She felt a warm coat being wrapped tightly around her. Zoe's face lit up. She looked up at him with misty eyes. "Blaine!" When Zoe said his name, Blaine's eyes darkened even further. Then he told Zoe in an extremely calm tone, "My penthouse is equipped with soundproof glass." What? Blaine hadn't been able to hear her shouting. Now she was soaked and freezing. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Zoe hissed at him through her chattering teeth. Blaine pulled the coat tighter around her. "Stop talking. I don't want you here." "I'm not leaving." Zoe stubbornly refused. "Blaine, don't push me away. Not right now." "Zoe, get lost!" Blaine suddenly shouted. Zoe didn't move. "I'm not going to leave." Zoe tried to shout back at him with all her might, but her throat was already so hoarse that she could barely get the words out. "I'm not going to leave. It's just HIV. I'm not afraid. I will stay here and take care of you today." "No, you need to leave." His tone was domineering and unyielding. At this moment, Zoe could clearly see the loneliness reflected in Blaine's eyes. He then added in a hoarse voice, "Don't get involved with this mess. Go home and stay as far away from me as possible." Zoe's eyes were completely flooded with tears from his depressing words. "Don't chase me away." This time, Zoe didn't argue with him. Her voice had softened. As soon as she spoke, her tears began to fall. She reached out and wrapped her arms around Blaine's muscular waist to hug him, ignoring everything else. She pressed her face against his soft shirt and whispered, "Blaine, don't chase me away. I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. Please don't make me." "Don't get involved with this mess. Go home and stay as far away from me as possible." Zoe's eyes were completely flooded with tears from his depressing words. He clearly had been shunned these past few days by his so-called friends. "I can't even find half a friend now." As he'd said this, she'd felt her heart breaking for him. She couldn't imagine what it must feel like to have people afraid of you and avoiding you because of their fear. "Don't chase me away." This time, Zoe didn't argue with him. Her voice had softened. As soon as she spoke, her tears began to fall. She reached out and wrapped her arms around Blaine's muscular waist to hug him, ignoring everything else. She pressed her face against his soft shirt and whispered, "Blaine, don't chase me away. I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. Please don't make me. Even if you've been infected, I wouldn't catch it just from being in your apartment. You're a doctor, so why don't you even have this kind of common sense?" Ever a gentleman, Blaine opened the car door for Zoe. "It's late, so drive carefully," he told her. She nodded that she would be careful before telling him, "Don't worry about your leave of absence. The hospital really didn't have much choice under such circumstances. Nothing has been decided or determined yet." Blaine didn't answer her. Zoe knew what Blaine was thinking. If he were diagnosed with HIV, then his dream of being a doctor would come to an end. A dream he obviously wasn't ready to relinquish. "When will your test results be in?" Zoe asked him. "Soon, probably in the next few days," he answered. Zoe knew the longer they made Blaine wait, the more painful the wait would be for him. Zoe looked up at him. "Blaine, when you get your results, no matter what, I hope you'll share them with me." Blaine gazed at her with lowered eyes. "I promise you, you'll be the first to know after me. No matter what the outcome is, I will not hide it from you." "Good." Zoe nodded, a bit choked up. "Then, I'm leaving. Goodbye, Blaine." Seeing the expression on Blaine's face, Zoe felt 1,000 butterflies take flight in her stomach. Blaine gazed deep into Zoe's eyes, unspoken emotions swirling between them. "Zoe, no matter what happens, thank you." Zoe pursed her lips, trying to suppress her whirling emotions. After taking a deep breath, she said to him, Blaine, if one day, if there ever really comes a day when everyone else in the world abandons you, believe me when I say, I'll be there for you. As long as I'm alive, you will never be alone. I'll always be there for you. I'll always be your friend. As long as she was alive, Blaine would have her and their son. Zoe had already thought about it. If the results of his HIV test were positive, she would have to tell him about Max. She couldn't deny him that last shred of hope. Blaine suddenly let go of her hand. With a hint of coldness slipping into his eyes, he lifted his lips and said, "Goodbye, Zoe." "Goodbye, Blaine." The emptiness that suddenly appeared in Zoe's heart made her feel slightly disappointed. Zoe smiled awkwardly, then started her car and drove away. The days of waiting for Blaine's test results were undoubtedly among the most torturous of Zoe's life. It had been 3 days since she'd seen Blaine, and his results were expected any time now. Zoe was so worried. "Zoe, you wrote another wrong number on this blueprint." Courtney walked over to Zoe's desk with a CAD drawing in her hand. "Oh, is that so? I'm so sorry. Let me check again." Zoe apologized as she opened her CAD software. Courtney leaned her hip casually against Zoe's desk and looked at her worriedly. "Hey, what's up with you these past few days? Is everything okay? Is Max doing all right? He hasn't had any more complications, has he?" No, Max is doing okay." Zoe shook her head and smiled apologetically as she took the CAD drawing from her. "Come, let me see what's wrong with the drawing." "Okay, well, as long as you're fine, as long as Max is fine." "Seeing how worried you've been this week, I've been growing concerned," Courtney told her. "I'm fine, don't worry." Zoe smiled at her friend in an attempt to reassure her. "Hey, Zoe, this just came for you." An assistant approached Zoe's desk holding an express delivery envelope. "Here you go." "Thank you." Zoe took the envelope and looked at it, puzzled over what it might be. "What's that?" Courtney asked her curiously. "I don't know." Zoe shook her head and tore the envelope open. Inside it were only a few pieces of thin paper. Zoe started to read them, still puzzled, when suddenly the words HIV and test results jumped out at her. At that moment, Zoe's heart stopped beating. These papers were the result of Blaine's HIV test. Within a few seconds, her palms grew slick with sweat. Zoe had been anticipating the results, but now that she held them in her hand, she realized she was too cowardly to look at them. She closed her eyes and pressed the papers against her heart. She prayed for a moment and then opened her eyes. She took a deep breath and mustered the courage to turn to the last page. When she saw the words she was looking for, Zoe's eyes became watery. She was trying her best to control her emotions, but she couldn't help herself and burst into tears. This sudden change in mood frightened Courtney, who was still standing there. "Zoe, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you crying? Please, don't cry. Don't cry." Courtney was trying to calm Zoe as best she could. "Court, I'm fine. I'm just so happy. These are tears of joy." Zoe was so relieved that her prayers had been answered. His test results were negative. Blaine didn't have HIV. "Good morning, Dr. Dexter." "Hello, Dr. Dexter. So good to have you back." "Dr. Dexter, we heard the good news. Congratulations." Blaine walked towards his office with a smile and his hands in the pockets of his white coat. On the way, many familiar faces he passed called out to him in greeting. Today was his first day back at St. Mary's since receiving his negative HIV test results. "Blaine, welcome back." David walked over and hugged Blaine. "Dr. Dexter, we missed you so much." Jose was so excited that he immediately jumped up and hugged Blaine, slapping him hard on the back as he did so. "Man, you really scared us." Blaine hugged both men back, thanking them for their brotherly affection. "Dr. Dexter, it's so great to have you back with us," Ramona said, her voice cracking with emotion. Then she burst into tears and hugged Blaine tightly. In the crowd, Zoe couldn't help but wipe her tears away. As Blaine shook hands with yet another staff member, he spotted Zoe at the back of the crowd. After everyone had left, he walked over to where Zoe stood waiting for him. Zoe looked a little uncomfortable. "You seem a little embarrassed by all the adoration and attention." "It's not that I'm embarrassed, I just feel that all this praise isn't necessary. I'm just like any other doctor, I was just doing my job." Blaine habitually put his hands into his pockets as he said this. Zoe extended her right hand toward him. Congratulations. Congratulations on what? Blaine asked in confusion. He stretched out his hand and shook hands with her. Congratulations on returning to your beloved profession, of course. She smiled. Thank you, Zoe. Zoe turned around and walked away, heading down the long corridor. Suddenly, a charming voice called out to him, Blaine! It was Sophia. Sophia intimately held Blaine's hand and apologized. Sorry, Blaine. Have you been mad that I didn't come to see you these past few weeks? Sophia, no need to explain so much to me. I didn't care at all. Whether it was because Sophia was too busy or because she was panicking, Blaine didn't want to discuss the matter any further. He really just didn't care. The moment Blaine got off work, he saw Max sneaking out of the hospital doors from afar and entering the pet store next to the hospital. Blaine tilted his head to take a look, then without even thinking about it, followed Max into the store. Blaine found him standing on his tiptoes beside a tall fish tank. Blaine squatted down beside him and imitated his actions, looking at the little red fish in the tank. What are you looking at? Do you want to buy this fish? Yes. The little guy nodded heavily. Then his gaze became more serious as he watched the fish swim in circles. Dr. Dexter, tell me, which fish do you think will live longer than me? Max's words stunned Blaine for a moment. His throat was a bit dry. None of them will live longer than you, Max. Max chuckled as he shook his head a bit sadly. Dr. Dexter, I know you are lying to me. Dr. Dexter is a doctor. If the doctor says that the fish can't outlive you, then they won't outlive you. Max didn't respond to Blaine. Instead, he asked the shop's owner, Sir, do you have fish that are in good health? The owner looked puzzled. Little man, all of our fish are very well taken care of. Max stuck his head over and reminded the shopkeeper, Remember, I need a fish that can't get sick. Blaine helped the little guy settle the debt. When the owner collected the money, he couldn't help but praise. Sir, your son is really cute. Blaine lowered his head and looked down at the little boy standing beside his feet. He reached out his hand and touched the warm little head and smiled. You misunderstood. I'm not his father. Really? I would never have guessed. You two really do look alike, the man replied, clearly surprised. Blaine smiled but didn't say anything more. He figured this was just the false flattery of a salesman. He led Max out of the store. Max followed him into the hospital with the small fish tank in one hand and Blaine's big hand in the other. Max, can you tell me why you bought this fish? Blaine asked. It's for my mommy. I want the fish to keep her company. As the little guy spoke, his footsteps suddenly quickened. Blaine was very curious about Max's mother. He wanted to meet the woman who had raised such a sensible and smart child. Looking down at the little guy, Blaine smiled and asked, Hey Max, do you want to bring Dr. Dexter to meet your beautiful mommy?
No. It hit Zoe. How natural Blaine was with Max. How compatible they were. Maybe life didn't need to be so lonely. It was time to tell Blaine the truth.
When Blaine asked Max if he wanted to introduce him to his beautiful mommy, the little guy was excited by the idea. Yes, Dr. Dexter, come meet my mommy. Unexpectedly, as soon as the two of them walked into the hospital's lobby, they bumped into Sophia. And even more unexpectedly, Blaine's mother, Catherine Dexter, was with her. Mom? When Blaine saw the dignified and graceful woman opposite him, he was pleasantly surprised. His mother was hard to get close to, and he wondered why she had come. What are you doing here? Son. When Catherine saw her precious son, whom she hadn't seen for a very long time, she was so excited that her eyes welled up with tears. She reached out and hugged Blaine. I missed you so much. I missed you too, Mom. Why didn't you give me a call when you knew you were coming here? I just got off work. We could have missed seeing each other, Blaine replied. Your mother said that she wanted to surprise you, Blaine, so I didn't call ahead, Sophia explained with a smile on her face. Sophia suddenly noticed the little boy standing by Blaine's feet. Wow, where did this child come from? He's such a little cutie. Hello. Max greeted Sophia with a shy smile. Then, clutching his fishbowl, Max turned to the older woman standing beside Sophia and added, "Hello, grandmother." As he greeted Catherine, he gave her a lopsided, childish smile. Catherine frowned as she looked down her nose at the child beside her son's feet indifferently. She adjusted the blazer she wore and sniffed coldly. "Grandmother is not a name this child should be calling me." The sensitive Max's smile faltered. He didn't understand why the lady seemed not to like him. "Mom, don't be like that. He's just a little boy." Understandably, he would call you grandmother. You probably look like his own grandmother. Blaine patted Max's bald head to comfort him. "Blaine?" Catherine was flustered. "How can you speak to me that way? And in defense of such a boy, out of all things." "Blaine, please relax." Sophia was playing the peacemaker. She touched Blaine's arm and said in a low voice, "Your mother came here with great difficulty. Don't make the relationship worse." Blaine took a deep breath and sighed. "Let me take this child back to his room first. You two wait for me by the front entrance, and then I'll take you both to dinner and we can catch up." Zoe's mind was a whirlwind of emotion and pain. Seeing Catherine with Max, seeing Max with Blaine, those things were overwhelming enough. But then Catherine had said that Blaine was getting married in a week. 1 week. 1 week until Blaine was truly lost to her forever. Blaine took his mother and Sophia to dine at a 5-star restaurant not far from the hospital. After dinner, the three of them took a walk downtown. The fall festival was in full swing and the street was bustling with noise and excitement. Sophia excitedly pointed out things she thought Blaine's mother might find interesting. Blaine, however, was bored and wandered off to have a moment to himself. As Blaine walked, he noticed an umbrella pavilion set up on the corner. Next to it stood a man dressed in a cartoon costume of a bald man. The costume man was vigorously promoting the box of condoms in his hand. Drawing a little closer, Blaine decided, no, not a man after all. The person inside the costume was a woman. Blaine could hear her trying hard to promote the condoms in her hands. "Don't miss out! Luxurious comfort, super thin experience, textured interior." Why did her sincere voice sound so familiar? Blaine suddenly stopped. His dark eyes were suddenly on fire as he stared fiercely at the costumed woman. "Sir, give it a try. You won't regret it. 50% off tonight. Buy a box." "I'll buy a box." Suddenly, a voice as cold as ice sounded in Zoe's ears. The smile on Zoe's face, which was covered by the head of her costume, froze on the spot before disappearing completely. Oh my God, why was Blaine here? Blaine's increasingly furious eyes were glaring at Zoe. She knew that he'd recognized her. Just as Zoe was about to remove the head of her costume to argue to the death with Blaine, she caught sight of Sophia approaching. And Catherine was with her. Zoe panicked. Her face turned pale under the costume. Then Zoe did the only thing she could think to do. She ran.
Hi, Zoe here. If you are wondering what happens next, then download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Rekindled Heartache now.